You are now watching Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel.
I shot him 6 times! What's going on, horror fanatics? Welcome to
I shot him 6 times!
YouTube horror movie channel. If you haven't done so already, please shoot this video a like. It helps out with the YouTube algorithm a ton. As well as if you're a new viewer to this channel, please shoot that subscribe button as well as that notification icon so you get all the latest content updates to the channel. Okay everyone, so a couple days ago, I did this video where I talked about one of the girls from Stu Macher's party, the girl that you see here in this thumbnail and this overlay, possibly being Samantha and Tara Carpenter's mother, Christina Carpenter, in the new Scream films, and potentially that she could have been involved with helping Stu and Billy in Scream 1996. Now I'm gonna leave that video on the end screen of this video for you guys to go take a look at it. I think there's this girl definitely, if you wanted to say in terms of looks, she definitely does kind of favor Melissa Barrera a little bit, so if you wanted to say new creators such as Radiosilence took this character and made this character Christina Carpenter, what have you, it's not impossible to think, in my opinion. However, after reading some of you guys' comments, as well as watching Sister Pam's latest video, I actually have changed my mind about this girl being Christina Carpenter, as in my opinion, I think it makes a lot more sense for her to be Stu Macher's sister, Leslie Macher. So I'm going to talk about, a certain scene here that you guys was letting me know about, in Scream 1996, where you hear in the hallway scene about, hey Chrissy, hold up. Now, I will tell you guys that I thought that scene that you guys were talking about, some of you guys like Blucka, Val Janowski, left in my comment section talking about this hallway scene. So I'm thinking that you guys were talking about the hallway scene from Scream 1996, from the ending of the film, where they're at Stu Macher's house, where right after Tatum Riley gets killed, you see Sydney, she calls out for Tatum, you see a bunch of people walking out the front door, what have you, but you can obviously see that Sydney is coming from Stu's hallway or whatnot. So that's what I thought that you guys were talking about, or I thought what a lot of people were talking about in terms of that piece of dialogue. I thought that piece of dialogue where you hear the girl say, hey Chrissy, wait up, I thought it was coming from that scene. However, I am mistaken on that, and as watching Sister Pam's video yesterday, she pointed out the scene where we do get that piece of dialogue. So without wasting any more time, I want to touch on that piece of dialogue in that scene real quickly. Then I'm going to cut back in to why I believe this girl, who I initially thought could have been Christina Carpenter, makes a lot more sense to be Leslie Macher. Okay, so the scene that everyone seems to be referring to when it comes to Christina Carpenter is this scene here in the school hallway where you see Sidney Prescott and Billy Loomis link up when they run into each other. You see this young lady where I have the finger pointed at. You see this young lady walking past them, and you then hear her friend behind her say, hey Christy, wait up. Now, if you really hone in on the audio, you can hear the T in the name. I know a lot of you thought that she said Chrissy, but if you really hone in on the audio, she does say Christy. So I just wanted to throw that out there, which is, both names are both a nickname for Christina. So either way, I can definitely see why everybody is saying, no, this could definitely be Christina Carpenter, based on the scene, based on hearing the name, as well as you can make the argument as well, if you really watch that scene, when Billy comes up the stairs, the girl who a lot of us believe to now be Christina Carpenter anyway, you can see that she kind of walks away very fast. She seems to want to get away from there, doesn't want to see Billy, what have you. I think if you really look at that scene, you can make the case that that's what's going on. Or if you were creators like Radiosilence and you watched that scene and wanted to create a new character out of that scene in the form of Christina Carpenter, I can definitely see why you would do such, because when Billy comes up the stairs, the girl does definitely look like she wants to get away from there or what have you, and which is why you hear her friend say, hey Christy, wait up, in the first place, because she's walking away so fastly. So I can definitely understand why a lot of you believe in this scene it probably and could be anyway Christina Carpenter. And I'm not against that. I'm not against it at all. Now, I will point out here, and because there's going to be some of those people that see this video or see Sister Pam's video about this girl possibly being Christina Carpenter, and a lot of people are going to say, no, there's no way she's Christina Carpenter, she's white, she's not Latina, so on and so forth. And if you have been a subscriber to this channel, then you know where I'm about to go. Guys, I told y'all many times before, as somebody who is a quarter Hispanic, you don't have to have color on your skin to be of Hispanic or Mexican heritage or Latin heritage. You don't have to have color in your skin. There are plenty of Brazilians, Mexicans, Hispanics, Puerto Ricans who are pale as Caucasians, that have pale pasty skin, but they are from Hispanic Latin heritage. That's a fact. It's a known fact here in the world. So the fact that this girl here in this scene in Scream 1996 looks white, that doesn't mean that she actually is. She could very much well be Hispanic or what have you. So again, I just wanted to point that out there because I know there's going to be some people who look at this scene and are like, no, there's no way, that's just not possible, what have you. It definitely is possible that this young lady here in this shot from Scream 1996 in the hallway could be Hispanic for sure. Okay, so now I'm going to share why I think it makes a lot more sense for this girl at the party to be Leslie Mocker more than Christina Carpenter like I initially thought. Now, after going back and watching the party scene and going over certain, parts and aspects of it, I actually caught some things that I really didn't pay too much attention to, the first couple times around. And one of them being is this shot here where you see Randy talking to Sydney about Jamie Lee Curtis being the Scream Queen. Look who's right there on the couch with them, basically outside of Stu and Tatum. This girl in the blue shirt. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because that would definitely make sense if Leslie Mocker would be engaging with Randy and Sydney, being that she would know them because of Stu. Of course she knows everybody else probably from being in school, at that house. But we know how close Sydney, Stu, Randy, and all of them were. So this definitely would make a lot more sense that she's comfortable engaging with them more so than anybody else in the house, maybe. Outside of the blonde-haired girl who she does seem to be hanging out with a good bit throughout the party scene that you see right there behind her. Another part from the party scene that I've now found even more fascinating than I ever did before is when Gail Weathers and Doobie Riley comes in the house. You hear when Stu says that Gail Weathers is there. You see the girl in the blue shirt that I believe now to be Leslie Mocker, and you see her blonde-haired friend get really excited as they are really big Gail Weathers fans. But that's not the important thing in this shot that I'm showing you guys. What's important, at least in my opinion, is the fact that this girl is yet again so close to Stu Mocker. Why is she so close to Stu? We just seen in the previous overlay that she is literally sitting basically on the same couch as Stu, Tatum, Sydney, and Randy. So she's putting herself at the forefront of people who are the closest to Stu Mocker, at least from our initial peripheral of the movie. But then you see in this scene, she is even closer to him, as well as when we're going to talk about the next shot that I have here when they're sitting in front of the TV watching Halloween. But why I bring this shot up is because this gives me the type of vibes of a brother and sister greeting a guest. With how close she is to Stu Mocker. Why is she so close to Stu Mocker? Well, in my opinion, the reason why is because you can make the case that maybe this is his sister. And another thing I want you guys to take into account as well is that we know for a fact that Stu's parents were most likely away on business. At least that's what it implies on the board in the kitchen or what have you when they leave him a note saying sorry, for leaving you or whatever it does say. You got to ask yourself the question, why wouldn't Leslie be there with Stu as well? Could she have been at a friend's house the night of the party? Sure. But if she's not with the parents, why wouldn't she be there to party it up with her brother? Just something to keep it in mind, in my opinion. Another thing I want you guys to keep in mind as well is, though we don't know how much older Leslie is than Stu, we do know for that fact that she is older. So there's the possibility that at the time of 1996, she could have been 21 years old. Why I bring this up is because we have to think, how did Stu Macher get the alcohol for his party? He would have not been able to get it, being that he wasn't legally old enough. He was 18. He would have had to have somebody who was legally old enough to get him that alcohol. Who better than his older sister, who possibly would have been 21 years old or older at the time? Okay, so now in my last video, when I assumed that this young lady could be Christina Carpenter, actually at Stu Macher's residence, helping Billy and Stu, what have you, I pointed out the fact that we did not see her character leave when the other guys left. I also pointed out you actually see her when she does get up from the couch. When the obligatory tit shot comes on, she gets up from the couch and she tells the boys, "I'm going to leave you boys alone." But her body language suggests she's heading towards the kitchen. Why I believe this to be a lot more important, especially for this theory, than I did believe for the Christina Carpenter theory about this character being Christina Carpenter, is it would make a lot more sense that she doesn't leave the residence if she's Leslie Macher. Why? Because she wouldn't have to leave the residence. This is her house. As if it was Christina Carpenter, I highly doubt that she'd want to roam around Stu Macher's house without knowing where really anything is, as well as the fact that Billy Loomis is right upstairs in Stu's parents' bedroom with Sidney Prescott. So after reevaluating that, I definitely don't think that would make any sense for Christina to be there. But the biggest reason why I believe it would make no sense for Christina Carpenter to be at the party, and that this girl is not Christina Carpenter, is the fact is when you see Samantha's ID in Scream 6, it says she was born May 19th, 1997. Now, why is that important, you may ask? Well, that's important because that all but confirms, unless Samantha was born prematurely, and that will be for another discussion for another video, but that all but confirms that Samantha was conceived in late August of 1996, as the events at Stu Macher's house took place September 28th. So if you do the math, if she was conceived in late August, that would line up with 9 months. Well, why is that important in this situation? It's important because the young lady that you see sitting in front of Stu Macher, as well as throughout the entire night when she's, hanging out with Randy and them and all that, you see her drinking. She's drinking beer. Now, why is that important? Is because we know for a fact if you're pregnant, you can't have liquor. You can't have malt liquor. You can't have any type of hard liquor. None of that. The closest thing you can have in terms of alcohol is wine, at least from what I've been told. But in terms of like malt liquor and hard liquor, you can't have any of that if you're a girl who's pregnant. And I'd like to think, now you can make the argument that if she is Christina Carpenter, she just doesn't know she's pregnant yet. But I'm going to go with the fact that, okay, 4 weeks, that's enough time to start getting symptoms if you're a pregnant woman. So I'd like to think Christina already started having symptoms, which would prompt her to get a pregnancy test and then find out she's pregnant, which would prompt her to know she cannot drink. And I think it would make a lot more sense, especially with what I just, talked about, that this would be Leslie Macher sitting in front of Stu Macher, being that she's drinking, she's having a great time there at the party, but the biggest thing is the fact that we see her body language head towards the kitchen. She doesn't seem to leave the Macher residence, and it's important because she doesn't have to. That is her house, that is her residence, she doesn't have to leave. And in my opinion, after everything I just talked about, I definitely do think it's a possibility that this girl that we seen sitting here in front of Stu, as well as throughout the entire party scene, has the potential to be Stu Macher's older sister, Leslie Macher. But okay, everyone, that is it for this video. Leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts on my new theory for this character, that she is not Christina Carpenter, but that she is Leslie Mocker. And given the details that I laid out, let me know, do you guys think if it makes a lot more sense for her to be Leslie Mocker than anyone else? Once again, this is
I shot him 6 times.
YouTube Horror Movie Channel. I'm your host and creator of the channel, Marcus. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. Thank you all for watching.